What is up, guys? UFC 328, Chimaev versus Strickland takes place this weekend, and I'm going to go through the entire card. It's a really stacked card. Probably the best card we've had this year. I've been saying that a lot recently, but we're heating up a lot. But let's get right started with it with the early prelim opener of Clayton Carpenter versus Jose Ochoa. And I'm going to go with Jose Ochoa. He's younger by like 4 years. He had a really close fight with Boner Kavanaugh, that's right. Clayton Carpenter had a close fight with Tagir Bekov, but I think level of competition is a little better for Jose Ochoa. He also had that close fight with Su Almabayev, which could have gone his way. That was another razor close fight that he had. But Su was able to get the grappling off. Ochoa was doing good on the feet there, so I think that's where he's going to win this fight against Clayton Carpenter. I think he's going to, be able to keep it on the feet, mix up, hit him to the body. He hurt Loner Kavanaugh to the body. I think the body's going to be open on Clayton Carpenter. I think Carpenter's going to be a little too reliant on trying to get in the takedowns because I don't think he has the ability to stand with Jose Ochoa because Jose Ochoa he's really fast. He has good power. I think he's going to find a KO in round 2 or 3, put down Clayton Carpenter. Clayton Carpenter's good, but he's kind of mid, He's like that kind of mid, below the rankings kind of guy. He'll like float around, maybe he'll touch 15, but I think Ochoa could be a guy who could be like a top 10 fighter in the UFC flyweight division. So I'm going to go with Jose Ochoa by second round KO. Up the card, BANGER Chimaev versus Jadordan Santos. Jadordan Santos sucks. Chimaev is pretty good. Maybe not as good as we thought he was going to be coming off the Contender Series, but he beats Jadordan Santos. This is another layup. Chimaev had a lot of layups. He just fought. Was his last fight the one on short notice? Or was that the... No, I think his last fight was... Who was his last fight? Let's see. Eric McConaughey, that's right. He took Eric McConaughey to the third round. I think Jadordan Santos is going to make it to like the third round here. I don't think this is going to be a quick finish because Jadordan Santos is tough. Of course, he lost to Ozzy Diaz, which is not a good look at all. I do believe he's won a fight in the UFC, though. Let me just check this really quick. But I think he beat someone after that. Yeah, he beat Danny Barlow, that's right. And that's a good win. Danny Barlow, he was coming up a weight class, wasn't really able to put any mustard on him, really. Santos showed a good chin in that fight. And Danny Barlow was a guy who a lot of people were hyping up as a guy who could be like a ranked fighter. Or people were really, really high on Danny Barlow coming up until he fought Sam Patterson. So that's a good win. But Chimaev is a huge middleweight. He is a middleweight-sized middleweight. Danny Barlow is really small for middleweight. And I think Chimaev is going to be able to keep it at range. I don't think that Jadordan Santos has he's not really great anywhere. He's not going to be able to mix in the grappling on Chimaev. Chimaev trains with Chimaev, trains at a good gym. He's a well-trained fighter. He's really sick on the feet. He's hard to track down. So I think he's going to get a third-round KO here over Jadordan Santos. And yeah, losing to Ozzy Diaz, that's a bad look. Really bad look losing to Ozzy Diaz. Even though it was a close fight, and it could have gone either way, I guess, but not really. It was pretty clear for Ozzy Diaz. Up the card, Pat Sabatini versus William Gomez. This is a close one. This is another close one where I could see Gomez keeping it on the feet, pitter-patting at range to a 30-27 boring decision, but I think I got to go with Pat Sabatini here. He's really sick grappling. Of course, he lost to Diego Lopez. He got brutally KO'd there, but other than that, he's been really good, and he's a really good grappler. When he gets to the back, he's good at holding the back. I don't know if he trains with, I think he might train with Aljo and Marab and them. I'm not sure on that. I'm not going to check it. I don't fucking care that much to check it. But he's one of those guys like an Aljo where he gets on your back and he has you there for the whole round. Really sick grappling. I don't think he's going to be able to find a finish here. He's not really a finishing type, but I think he'll be able to mix it up and win a 29-28 decision. William Gomez, he's had a couple close ones. The fight with what's his name, Hyder Emil. A lot of people thought he won that one, but he just kind of got pressured back with Hyder Emil kind of chin maxed him, where he was just taking punches and just walking him down. I don't think Sabatini's gonna be able to do that, but then again, I don't think Gomez has the power to put Sabatini out, and I think Sabatini is one of those guys where you have to kind of put him out to win, and I don't see William Gomez having the power to do so. And I think Sabatini can keep it even on the feet. You know, in the fight he just had with what's his name, Budget Cejudo, Edgar Chavez. No, not Edgar Chavez. That's a flyweight. The Chepe Mariscal. That's it. You know, he looked really good on the feet there. You know, so I don't think Gomez is gonna be able to school him on the feet, and I do think that Sabatini's gonna school him on the ground. You know, I think he's gonna be able to hold him down. When he gets him down, I don't see Gomez getting up. So I'm gonna go with Pat Sabatini by a 29-28 decision. Close fight, but Sabatini gets the nod based off grappling, mixing up on the feet. One of those ones. Up the card to a sick fight. Roman Kopylov versus Marco Tulio. This is a close one, man. Roman Kopylov's another guy who had a lot of hype coming into the UFC, and on his early rise, but as of late, he's been kind of hit or miss. You know, the Paulo Costa fight, not the Roman Kopylov fight, the Gregor Rodriguez fight, you know, those ones were he didn't look the best. He kind of got broken by Paulo Costa and kind of got marauded by Gregor Rodriguez in the first 2 rounds. He did look good in the 3rd round. So maybe there's some money on a Roman Kopylov, you know, rallying back into Marco Tulio in the 3rd round when maybe Tulio empties his gas tank a little bit. And, you know, Marco Tulio did just get KO'd brutally, by the way, by Christian Leroy Duncan. But Christian Leroy Duncan's goofy, man. Roman Kopylov's not going to be spinning around, you know, throwing a wheel kick to a spinning back fist, you know. And, like, that was, like, you know, that's how he got caught. Tulio got caught with a spinning back fist. And I don't even know how to describe the way Christian Leroy Duncan fights. He's just always spinning. He's like a ballerina dancer, bro. He's just spinning. And, you know, sometimes you get caught. And Tulio got caught right on the chin. He got put down bad. Follow-up shots were fucking brutal. He got face planted, then he got tagged a bunch. But I think Kopylov's more of like a fundamental striker, where he'll 1-2 body kick, kind of work it, use the hands, set up the feet. He's not going to spin a bunch. And I think in that fight, you know, Tulio is going to be able to kind of grit down a little bit and kind of win the striking exchanges. I think he's faster than him. He's going to beat him to the punch. He is smaller, so maybe Kopylov can mix in the grappling. I don't see it. I think Tulio, if anyone can mix in the grappling, it would be Tulio. You know, Tulio had a close fight. Not a close fight. He beat the shit out of Tresean Gore. But Tresean Gore's a marauder, man. We saw that against Bekaev, where, you know, when you start scrapping with Tresean Gore and he just goes, all right, fuck it, we're just going to throw down. That's kind of where he excels in a brawl fight. And that's kind of what they had there. You know, so Tulio did get tagged. And I think Kopylov will have a reach advantage here, if I had to guess. Fucking website keeps fucking crashing. No, he doesn't. He has like a half-inch reach advantage. And they're both 6 foot. That's crazy. I would have thought that Kopylov was a lot bigger. I think he will be on fire. I don't think these stats are right. Fucking UFC and their stats. Anyway, I think Marco Tulio will be able to keep it, you know, not keep it on the feet, but outpace him on the feet and hit him with body shots, you know, kicking his body, spinning. He'll be Christian Leroy Duncan maxing in this one. And I think he'll find a TKO. I really do. I think Marco Tulio is the truth. I think he's going to get a 2nd round KO over Roman Kopylov in this one. And kind of one of those performances where we're like, all right, yeah, this guy is really good. You know, he lost a lot of hype after the CLD fight. But this is going to be one of the ones where it's like, all right, yeah, this guy is that good. All right. And that's the early prelim headliner. Stacked early prelims. Great early prelims here. On to the prelim opener. Unk on Unk violence. Jim Miller versus Jared Gordon. We are cheering for Jim Miller, but unfortunately, I do think Jim Miller's going to lose this one. I think Jared Gordon's going to win a decision, and I think it's not going to be that close. I think he's going to kind of school him on the feet, maybe mix in some grappling. Jim Miller is a plus 250 dog for a reason here. He's the Unk of the Unk, man. You know, he's been around the block, and then he's been around the block again 5 times, you know, so. I mean, who knows? Maybe Jared Gordon goes out there and gets hit by another fucking car, you know? If you don't remember that in the last fight, he got hit by a fucking car and then still fought, so who knows? Maybe Jared Gordon gets hit by another car, and Jim Miller just puts him out bad. We're all hoping for it. You know, of course, Jared Gordon had that fight with Paddy Pimblett. That's kind of his thing is that Paddy Pimblett fight. He's knocked out Thiago Moises. He's had a lot of good performances. And, Jim Miller hasn't as of late. And unfortunately, I think he's over the hill. He's actually at the bottom of the hill right now, I think, of his career trajectory. But if you're the UFC, man, throw this guy $1 million bonus. Like this guy, in the build-up, he's talking about his son with cancer. We can't pay, the UFC doesn't offer health insurance for a guy who's had 50 fights in the fucking promotion. It's fucking criminal. It's disgusting. They signed a $7.7 billion deal, and they can't give a guy a little bit of money for help his son out with cancer. I mean, that's fucking brutal. He's talking about how all the injuries he's had is adding up on his money. It's fucked up. It really is. So, a big Jared Gordon, or not, a big Jim Miller KO would be fucking awesome. Unfortunately, I don't see it. If I'm Jim Miller, I'm just going to go out there and throw in a flying headbutt like Bobby Green did against Jared Gordon, to be honest. So, who knows? I think this is gonna be a boring fight. To be honest, I think it's gonna be a Jared Gordon kind of pitter pat. Maybe mixes in the grappling a little bit, leg kick every once in a while, keeping him at range with a jab. Kind of a 30-27 for Jared Gordon. On to an absolute banger. Grant Dawson versus Mateusz Rebecki. This could also be a boring one if Grant Dawson's able to get the grappling off, but he's not going to be able to. Mateusz Rebecki is going to shuck this guy off like it's nothing. Rebecki's a fucking big ball of muscle, and I think if he tags Grant Dawson with anything, I think Grant Dawson's going to shore up to a little ball and give up. Bobby Green put him away with a jab. Other than that, he's been really good in the UFC. He beat Carlos Diego Ferreira, who beat Rebecki, of course, in a fucking banger. But Rebecki's had some good fights against, Murtek Olobai. He beat a lot of good guys. He just lost to Chris Duncan, but that was a fucking war. Maybe go with Grant Dawson because we just found out Chris Duncan maybe isn't all that. But I think Bacano's really good. So, I think Rebecki's going to be able to shuck off the grappling. If Grant Dawson's able to get the grappling off, he will win. But I don't want to see it. I don't see it. I think Rebecki is too strong. I don't think, even if he gets a takedown, I think he's going to be able to scramble up. He has really sick scrambles, and he hits really hard on the feet, and I think he's going to bulldoze Grant Dawson in round one and put him down, because Grant Dawson's just a victim on the feet, man. He's like the max prestige Chase Hooper archetype fighter, a guy who's just like, man, get away from me, wrestle, he doesn't like it. He doesn't want it on the feet. He does have a reach advantage, but he's not going to use it. Rebecki's just going to he's just going to bulldoze him, man. First round KO, Mateusz Rebecki. On to Joel Alvarez versus Yaroslav Amislov. This is a guy who's, 29-1. He just fought, I can't remember who the guy lost to, but he only has one loss outside the UFC. He's only 1-0 in the UFC, but he did dominate Neil Magny and destroy him in a round. So there's that. But Joel Alvarez, man, let me tell you about this guy. Let me tell you something about this Joel Alvarez. Should be 100% finish rate. He got screwed out of a finish against Vicente Luque, where he put Vicente Luque down. The ref said it was an eye poke because refs in the UFC don't know how to ref the sport. Joel is good everywhere, man. He is really good everywhere. I am scared that Yaroslav Amislov is just going to fucking Dagestani hump him for 3 rounds and win a boring decision, but I don't see it. I see Joel Alvarez having improved grappling in this fight, so of course we all know he got fucking demolished by Arman Tsarukyan, but this guy ain't Arman Tsarukyan. I know he's bigger than him. I know it's up a weight class. That shit don't matter. Joel Alvarez, he's gonna use the lessons he's learned in his career, and he's gonna go out there, he's gonna have a fucking statement performance, and he's gonna fucking put out Yaroslav Amislov in round 2 with either a guillotine choke or a big straight down the middle. Once Yaroslav isn't able to get the grappling off, I think he's gonna slow down a lot. He's kind of slow on the feet. He's kind of a pitter-patter maxer on the feet a little bit, and we've only really seen him against Neil Magny. And even though Neil Magny is like, a crafty vet, I think a lot of guys beat Neil Magny. I know he beat Mike Malott, the great Mike Malott, the Canadian wonder. I thought that was on my fucking... but I think Joe Alvarez would destroy Neil Magny just as easily as Yaroslav Aslov did. And I think Neil Magny's way past the hump at this point. Like that's pretty much it. You know, out grappling him is definitely impressive. Probably more impressive than just like clipping him on the feet and KOing him. So he's shown good grappling in that aspect, but Joe Alvarez is a different beast, man. He really is. And at welterweight, maybe he doesn't have much pop in his hands, so maybe that's where Yaroslav can kind of build up a little bit and, you know, build himself into the fight, because Joe Alvarez is a lightweight who's moving up. This is his second welterweight fight, but with it being his second welterweight fight, I think he's going to be built up more for the weight class, you know. In the last one, he fought Vicente Luque, and as I just said, you know, he should have gotten a KO there. He got kind of robbed of a KO, but he wasn't able to put Vicente Luque out, and that's the only fight that he hasn't finished as a win. You know, all his wins have come by finish other than the Vicente Luque fight. So maybe you can make a case that maybe he doesn't hit as hard at welterweight, but I think he does, and I think this is going to be, you know, he's used to the weight class now. He's got that one buffer fight out where he's kind of getting used to it, and Vicente Luque is a really good fighter. You know, Vicente Luque just fucking chinned and subbed Kelvin Gastelum at middleweight. So Vicente Luque is still game. He does still have it. And Joe Alvarez put a whooping on him for 3 rounds. And I think he's going to I think he'll KO Yaroslav Aslov round 2. To the prelim headliner, Ateba Gate versus Ozzy Diaz. I mean, do I really have to talk about this at all? This is the biggest cam fight of all time. Ozzy Diaz is going to get fucking nuked in round 1. Obviously. You know? I believe the guy that Gauthier just fought, his name is Poliev. I believe so. He was a guy who fought Christian Leroy Duncan in his debut. Went to a close decision with him and lost. And then he fights Gauthier. Gets fucking nuked 3 times in the first round. Flown across the cage. And kind of just every time you hit him, he would get knocked down. But it was still a close fight. You know, he was just landing some good shots on him. But Ozzy Diaz isn't as good as Poliev, if that's his name. I might be mispronouncing his name there. Or maybe I'm thinking of a different guy, but you know who I'm talking about. But Ozzy Diaz doesn't have pop like that. He doesn't have the technique like that. He's kind of just a big fat... No, he's not even a fat guy. He's just kind of a plotty plobster. Plotty plobster. He's going to get nuked out. Definitely in the first round. If this goes to a second round, that's bad for Ateba Gate, I would say. But after this, maybe can we get a Michelle fight? A Michelle Pereira fight? An anything fight? A fight with any kind of substance for Ateba Gate that's not a fucking can? That would be awesome. All right? Because there's nothing you can say about this fight at all. Like, we know Ateba Gate is going to go in there and nuke him in round 1. If he doesn't, that would be disappointing. All right. On to the main card opener. Bobby King Green versus, I almost said Chase Hooper, versus Jeremy Stevens. Little Heaven Stevens. This is an interesting one, because it does seem like one where Bobby Green could be doing good, and then all of a sudden Jeremy Stevens, who missed weight for this fight, by the way, he missed weight by 4 pounds, so he's coming in at 160. I think he was like the only guy to miss weight on this card. I might be mistaken. That's the only one I saw miss weight. Anyway, so he does, like, he's gonna have 4 pounds on King Green in this one. Fucking King Green, Bobby Green in this one, so maybe that's something. Maybe he's able to, maybe he hits a little harder. I don't really think so. If anything, I think that's bad. I think that's probably a bad weight cut. You know, he's older. He just kind of, he had a nice scrap with Mason Jones. Well, I think Mason Jones is really good. So, that's not a bad look at all. But I just see Bobby Green having a masterclass on him, man. He could get nuked out. Like, Jeremy could land one in the chin and put him out bad. That's always a possibility with Bobby Green. But I think he's going to have a good, like a 29-28, gets in his flow state in round 2 and 3 and kind of schools him in rounds 2 and 3 to a decision. I don't think Jeremy Stevens should be in the UFC. Of course, he's a legend, so I'm not going to get mad that he's here. He's been around the block a couple of times. He's had some boxing fights. I think he had some bare knuckle fights. He's been around the block outside the UFC, so it's good that he's back, but I don't think he'll ever win a fight in the UFC again. I don't even think I probably wouldn't pick him to win a fucking bar fight at this point, to be honest. So, yeah, I got Bobby Green. Unless he gets chinned out of nowhere and fluked, he should win a decision pretty clearly. On to a banger. Sean Brady versus Joaquin Buckley. This is one I'm kind of going back and forth on, because Joaquin Buckley did just get dominated by old man Usman. But Sean Brady just looked like shit against Michael Morales. Michael Morales is good, though. I worry about Sean Brady's ability to take a punch. And I think he is probably the more skilled fighter. I think if you're looking at this one and you're like, who is like the more mixed martial artist? It would be Sean Brady. Sean Brady is the better mixed martial artist. He should be the better fighter. He's better pretty much everywhere on paper. But that chin, man. That chin has let him down so much in his career. Getting TKO'd by Bilal Muhammad is fucking terrible. That's such a bad look. I can never unsee that in my head whenever I see Sean Brady fight. The Leon Edwards win hasn't aged great. Then again, Buckley's wins haven't aged great either, but Buckley... Here's the thing. I think Buckley's going to be able to shuck off the takedowns of Sean Brady, because I think Joaquin Buckley is really strong. I don't think Sean Brady is going to be able to muscle down Joaquin Buckley. And Usman was muscling him down, and I think Usman's a lot stronger than Sean Brady. I think Brady's probably a fundamentally better grappler, and I think he's probably better at establishing dominant position and, using the position to finish a fight. So if this fight does get to the ground, if Brady's able to get him down, I do think he will finish Joaquin Buckley on the ground, because Brady's really good on the ground. And if he's able to establish a takedown early in this fight, it'll be a snowball effect. He'll keep getting them, and he'll finish him round 2, 3. But I think what's going to happen is we're going to be on the feet, and he's not going to shoot a takedown until he gets tagged, because that's always what he fucking does. He's a fucking stupid idiot. He'll get tagged with a big shot. He'll panic shoot a takedown, and Buckley's going to shuck him off. And then Brady's going to go, oh, fuck, I'm fucked. And he's going to kind of just give up a little bit and get TKO'd in round 1. That's just how I see this fight going, man. That's it, man. That's really all I have to say. I think Buckley's going to be able to hit him with something on the feet. Maybe it's in round 2. Maybe it's in round 3. But at a point in this fight, Brady will get tagged. He will panic shoot a takedown. And Buckley will shuck him off with just pure strength. And Brady will shit his pants on the feet. And he will get TKO'd. Because he can't take a shot, man. He can't. And when it doesn't go his way, he crumples. He crumples every time a fight doesn't go his way. It's got to go perfectly his way every single time. And if it doesn't, he fucking crumples. And I just can't trust a guy who I've seen crumple. It's only been 2 times, but those 2 times, they've been brutal. And it's always against high-level comp. Buckley is a high-level comp opponent. Even if, Kobe Covington, he's washed, that's his best win. The Wonder Boy fight's good. Able to track Wonder Boy down against the cage and KO him. Buckley's got pop. And if you have pop and you're strong, I think that's a gourmet recipe to beat a guy like Sean Brady, who he just panics. He panics when he gets rocked and he doesn't get a takedown. And he'll shell up against the cage, and Buckley will, unleash a big combination and TKO him against the cage. That's just how I have it. I don't know what round. I'm going to go with round 1. I think this will be an early one. But if you're going to put money on it, I would bet on a Brady decision or Buckley KO. Kind of get the 2-for-1er there. But I can't pick Sean Brady to win a fight ever. I won't. On to the featured fight, Alexander Volkov versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. How you know I'm Dominican, Papi? Huh? How you know I'm Dominican, Bobby? Dominican Papi, Waldo Cortez Acosta. Really fast hands, but Volkov's that guy. I think Volkov's better than him everywhere. We saw what Pavlovich was able to do against Waldo Cortez Acosta, and we saw what Volkov was able to do against Pavlovich. So I'm not trying to do MMA math here, because we all know MMA math doesn't work, but Volkov's a very tricky puzzle to solve. And for a lead leg heavy boxer like Waldo Cortez Acosta, I don't think that's the archetype. What the fuck ever. You know what I'm trying to say? I don't think that's the build to beat a guy like Volkov, who's a rangy striker, long. How much? He's 6'7". He only has an 80-inch reach, eh? I would have thought it was longer than that. They're saying Volkov only has a 2-inch reach advantage. I'm looking at their fucking arms right now. It looks like Volkov has at least 4. At least. I would say probably more like 5-6 inches of reach advantage here. I don't trust these fucking stats. You should never trust the stats on the UFC website. They're always wrong. But I think Volkov's going to be able to jab him at range, kick that leg. Waldo Cortez Acosta's kryptonite has been the leg kick. He fought Jared Ventura. Is that his name? What was his name? I think it was something like that. Jared Ventura, something like that. Ventura. Just a fat guy who chopped the shit out of his legs. And since then, there hasn't been too many guys who have tried to do that against him. I'm trying to think I don't think Pavlovich kicked the leg that much. I think he did a little bit, but his was more just kind of outboxing with the range because Pavlovich has really long arms, and it's kind of surprises you how long his arms are. But I think Volkov's gonna be able to keep him at range, chop that calf that has been his Achilles heel his whole career. Waldo Cortez Acosta. I also think Volkov can mix in the grappling if he wants. Volkov's a very fucking good grappler. He beat Cyril Gane not in his last fight. He beat Jelton Almeida in his last fight. But the fight for that, he beat Cyril Gane and got robbed. It was the worst robbery I've ever seen. Why is there a 0? Oh, I don't know. I was looking at the thing. It says 17-2-0. But then on Volkov, it says 39-11-0. So they just have, neither of them have a no contest or a draw. It's weird they have that instead of just having the record. But yeah, I think Volkov's going to be able to mix it up. He's better than him everywhere. And I think Volkov is the second best. Well, maybe not the second best anymore, because I think Pereira is probably the second best heavyweight now. But Volkov's like a top 5 heavyweight right now. So I do see him winning a 30-27 decision. I don't think it'll be close. I think this is going to be a schooling from Volkov. Maybe Cortez Acosta will surprise me. I doubt it. This is probably the fight I'm the most confident on the card. Well, aside from the main event. Co-main event time. From the fight I'm most confident in to the fight I'm least confident in. This is such a hard one to predict because we really don't know. We don't know about Joshua Van's grappling yet. He fought Ray Tsuruya. Ray Tsuruya is a pure grappler. Tatsuro Taira, even though he's a grappler, he's not a pure grappler. He does have some hands. He has pop. I like Van. Van's really good, beating Brandon Royval, knocking him down in the 3rd round. That's a good win. Tatsuro Taira's only loss has come to Brandon Royval. But Royval's tricky to grapple with. The grapplers kind of Royval gives grapplers a really hard time. And we just saw Manel Cap fucking baptize him in the 1st round. So if either of the performances look worse, even though Tatsuro Taira lost, I think his performance looks better in hindsight than Van's. I know that's crazy to say, but that was a really close fight between Royval and Taira, and Taira just didn't move his fucking head. I think he's evolved since then. I don't think he's going to stand there with his head on the center and let Joshua Van tee off. That still does worry me, that he won't move his head and he'll just get teed off on for fucking 5 rounds straight, but I do think Taira is going to mix in the grappling to a decision. I think Tatsuro Taira is the second best grappler in the division, behind Pantoja. And we never got to see any scrambles between Joshua Van and Alejandro Topuria and Alejandro Pantoja. So we can't really use that fight at all. It's kind of just a nothing fight. The arm break happened. I wanted to go with Joshua Van all fight week. He's an underdog. I gotta go with Taira. I think Taira's gonna out-grapple him to a 48-47. Maybe he'll get finished. I doubt it. I think Van will be able to scramble himself to not get into those positions where, like a Moreno, where Moreno got slammed on his side of his head, and then Tara got mount and TKO'd him, or where Perez, he was able to snap Perez's ACL by leaning off to the side. I don't think Van's going to be able to put himself in that position. So I think Tara will out-grapple and do the decision. I do think Van's going to show better scrambles than a lot of people are expecting, especially early. I think that's where Van should really work to win his fights. But we've also seen Van gas out before. In the Charles Johnson fight, he kind of slowed down in the third round, got caught in the chin. In the Edgar Chavez fight, he gets tagged a lot, and Tara does hit hard. So I could see Tara giving him trouble on the feet just as much as I could see Van, giving Tara struggles on the grappling. This is a fucking really close fight. I really don't know how you can be confident in either guy in this one, but I'm going to go with Tara winning a decision. 48-47, as close as it gets. Probably a split decision for being real. Doesn't really matter, though, because Pantoja beats them both. All right, on to the main event of the evening. We are all cheering for Sean Strickland. We want Sean Strickland to KO this guy. I almost said something not nice. I think this fight, the question of this fight is, does Chimaev finish Sean Strickland? I think I don't think you should be asking yourself who wins this fight, because I don't think it's close at all. But I will say that I do not think that Chimaev is going to finish Sean Strickland. I think it's going to go to a decision, and I think it's going to be a little better than the DDP fight. I think Strickland will be able to scramble up a couple times later in the fight and, teep at range. Maybe not teep because, but he'll be able to jab. There'll be more stand-up exchanges on this fight than the DDP fight, DDP versus Chimaev, where it was just all Chimaev holding him down. I do think that it's going to be a lot of Chimaev holding him down. Maybe after the press conference, Chimaev is going to be more fired up to get a finish, and that creates more openings for Strickland to get up, making it a better fight, more like the Gilbert Burns fight where they're trying to slug it out on the feet. A man can hope. But I don't see it. I think Chimaev's going to be able to get right on the hips, like 10 seconds into the fight. I think Strickland will be on the ground. And I think the first round will be all Chimaev control. The second round, maybe Strickland's able to scramble a little bit, and then like half the round's on the ground, and then it'll kind of be like that, where like the third round, okay, now we're getting a more stand-up fight. Fourth round, oh, now it's all a stand-up fight, and the fifth round, oh, Chimaev controlled him the whole time. So I do think Chimaev's going to win this 49-46. Unanimous decision. Unanimous. Jeez, I cannot talk. I've been talking for like an hour straight, so I think Chimaev's going to get a unanimous decision, 49-46. I think Strickland will win probably round 3. I think Strickland will be able to defend the takedowns, and Chimaev will kind of take his foot off the gas a little bit and kind of control the pace, because in that Dricus du Plessis fight, he did gas out in the 5th round, even though it was only a minute left, DDP wasn't able to do anything with it. He did kind of, in that last minute, DDP had his best moments of the fight. My nose is so fucking itchy, I don't know why. I keep fucking itching my nose. Jesus Christ. But so that is still a factor. I don't think we have to worry about it as much as before the DDP fight, where it was like we've seen this guy, we haven't seen this guy go to a decision more than twice, or we haven't seen him in the 4th and 5th. So now that we've seen him there, I am more confident in Chimaev not gassing out. So yeah, I think Chimaev wins a 49-46 unanimous decision. Screamed Allahu Akbar on the mic after, and Strickland gets memed on the internet, because that's just what we do when fighters lose. That's it. Those are my predictions. Chimaev, Tara, Volkov, Buckley, Green, Gaultier, Alvarez, Rebecki, Jared Gordon, Marco Tulio, Pat Sabatini, Susurkayev, and Jose Ochoa. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you have not already. It helps out a lot. All right. See you, boys.